Hello, Mgtows. Hello, man. Hello, Mgtows. Hello, man. Yeah, there's my sound check, and everything's going great. I usually don't do that. I usually come on and I go, "Hello, Mgtows. Hello, man." And I realized a long time ago that if you speak kind of softly into the microphone, it'll pick up all the sound better, and it gives it a better adjustment on Google. But most of the time, I start off with like, "Rah!" But it's Saturday night, and we're going to be easy. It's casual. I guess this will be casual Saturday. It's casual Saturday, and everybody says, "This is Saturday." Let me make sure about that. Yeah, it's Sunday. It's Sunday, casual Sunday. I thought it was Saturday again, but again, um, but we're just going to hang out and relax and talk about things. And we're going to talk about hate today. I guess hate's the subject. I don't want to go real deep into the complex mannerisms of hate and everything, but I did notice something around Mgtow that's pertinent to Mgtow. We get a lot of groups that demand from you, and they demand that you occupy their group, or else you can't be a Mgtow. And I think that's the worst thing in the whole world. And it's just it wouldn't be worth being a Mgtow if I couldn't be myself, and I would have to participate in a group and understand and try to agree with what they agree with, or else I can't be a part of that group. That's not Mgtow. That's delicious. Hate demands hate is what I was saying. Hate demands hate. It's the anti-feminists demand that Mgtows hate the feminists, and the feminists demand that the Mgtows hate other men. The feminists say that all these men are toxic and there's toxic masculinity. And right about now, I'll go into my quote of the day. Things don't have to be delicate and beautiful to be masculine. Things don't have to be delicate to be beautiful. Masculinity can be beautiful too. My masculinity is like looking down into an open volcano. It's scary sometimes when we look at masculinity, but when you look at that powerful, that hot volcano, and you're looking down into that, isn't that beauty too? Isn't that? And that's the way I think feminists should look at men. Their masculinity is beautiful in a way. And but back to the topic, we get right that the right groups demand that you hate the left, and the left groups demand that you hate the right. And you can't be a Mgtow if you're not. Somebody told me he would doubt if I was a Mgtow because I'm not on the right. Some other groups demand that I hate, and I had to hate the people that they wanted me to hate, or else I couldn't be a part of their group. And I thought that was funny. And each group, they show a casual cruelty. And I talked about Schweitzer's casual cruelty towards other people. There's this snarkiness. There's this. I see this with the Young Turks. I see this with Tucker Carlson. I see this with these groups. They demand from their base that you hate this other group. And I think that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Hate always demands hate. And that's what I think we're going to talk about in a casual way today. And that was my monologue. It was very short. You know who taught me about hate? Dougie did. Dougie's a dog. Dougie demands that I hate all cats. He was up against the window, and he was barking, and he was like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and he punched a hole through the screen with his head, and he was going nuts. And he looked at me with this sense of indignancy. He looked at me, he's like, "Joe, there's a cat and you're letting it get away. You're not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I hate that cat." And I was like, "Doug, I really don't have much hate for that cat." But that's what we see around here. We see these men that demand hate from other men. And maybe it's natural. It's natural within Dougie. And I thought, well, these men are sort of like the penile brains of Dougie, that little brain that floats around with him, that sits on the top of his spinal cord. That little brain is telling him they hate cats. And I was thinking, yeah, that's telling them they hate cats, because cats represent a uh, he has to share his environment. He has to share his resources. They represent a drain on the resources to Dougie. And Dougie doesn't want them around. He hates them. He will kill them. But Dougie demands that of me, too. And I thought, well, that's what a lot of these people demand of me. These people demand that I hate the same people that they hate. When the alt-right came around, it seemed so cringy to me that they demanded that I hate the left. And when I go look at a lot of the Ibmore and the black man nationalists, they demand that I hate something about myself. They demand that they demand that I vilify this anti-Semitic group that demands that I vilify the Jews, and they demand that I vilify these white people, even though I am a white people. I see this with the Young Turks. I see this with these, there you go, these old establishment white old guys, and I just so happen to be one of these old establishment white guys. So they're demanding that I hate myself. They demand that I hate myself. And I was, man, I can't do that. You're thinking like Dougie. You're thinking at the level of Dougie. Dougie hates cats, and he demands that I hate cats too. I don't dislike cats. I don't have one. You know why Dougie demands that I hate cats? Dougie, just because I don't have a cat doesn't mean I must hate cats. Now, when I look at that philosophy that I just summed up, and I look at that in this world, just because I don't have a woman around here and I don't keep women around doesn't mean I hate them. Just because I don't hate feminists doesn't mean, just because I'm a Mgtow doesn't mean I have to hate feminists. I simply disregard them. I simply don't think about these things. I simply don't think about these things because I'm a Mgtow, because I gave a conscious effort in my life to stop hating things, to stop putting that burden on my back. And that's quite a burden to talk that is a huge burden to carry around with you. Do you have people in your life, guys, do you have people in your life that demand that you hate other people, and you sit there and you think, I don't really hate these people? It's just, I rarely interact with a lot of these people. I mean, the anti-border people demand that I hate Mexican people. They demand that I hate brown people. But I live in a neighborhood that's 68% Hispanic. And I have to get along, and I don't hate them. I love these people. I love my neighbors. And I don't see the same thing that they see. But they will demand, and white brothers, the Ku Klux Klan will demand that, Joe, you're white, you have to hate these people. And I was like, I just don't see that. They demand it out of you. I have a friend that comes over a lot, and it's anti-logic, and he's always on this thing where black people are breeding and they're going to take over the United States. And I tell him, Tommy, easy on that. And I tell him, buddy, it's not happening like that. It's just not that. Oh, they're everywhere and this and that. And then in the next week, it's the same thing. And the next week, it's the same thing. And he demands of me. And it got trying. And it's like, we can't even have a simple beer without you forcing these demands on me. I don't hate these people. I just don't do them things. And we get that around here with the right demands that you hate the left, and the left demands that you hate the right. And we went through that for about a year and a half, 2 years in Mgtow. Now look at the shape of Mgtow. Now look at the shape of what's happened. Go look at the videos and tell me you don't see a visual difference in equality. Tell me you don't see a visual difference. I see a visual difference. I see these same people still demanding this group won. You have to be a part of this group. You have to think just like them. That is so anti-Mgtow when you are told that you can't be a Democrat or you can't be a Republican or you can't be a centrist. Or worst of all, the worst thing in the world is you have to admit that you're a centrist so you don't offend either group. that's that's ridiculousness. That's ridiculousness. I don't take to that hate anymore. Man, I've become so old and I've become so indignant about that. I've become it's just too much to demand of a person anymore. I just, man, I hear it in the bars, I hear it in the restaurants, I see it on TV and I see it and it's like, man, that is a whole lot of work. That is a whole lot of work. And I'm just not up for it anymore. These things I have to put away. And that's Mgtow. These things I have to put away. Mgtow, the personification of no. I have to put these things away. For what? For me. For me. I can't display casual cruelty everywhere I go. Man, that's a burden. That's hard to do. Just so you can see it. I felt that the other day. I went to one of these alt-righters and I wasn't displaying that casual cruelty towards their enemies, which their enemies were these supposed Jews that were taking over the world. And they're everywhere. And I was like, man, I don't see any of them. Man, did I miss that? Was that a flyby on Joe? Because I just don't see them. I don't see. And the brown people were coming over the border and I just don't see it. It's like, where is this mass influx of these horrible people? Because I just don't see it. And but they demand that you hate. The philosophical. It's a philosophical requirement of some Mgtow that you be on the right. And they would go, "Oh my God! If you're not, then you're not a Mgtow." But what does Mgtow have to do with that? Mgtow has nothing to do with that. Like any group, 42% of Democrats and 42% of Republicans, and the rest of them are scattered independents. And I don't care which one you are. Don't bring hate to it. Don't bring hate to it. And you can be my friend. But I've noticed a thing happening to be accepted around here. I noticed a guy come around lately, 6,000 subs right away, spewing hate. Is hate how you get? Is that hate? That excitement of that hate, is that how you get subs on YouTube anymore? The Alex Jones subs? Really, as in, fuck. Really, as in what I'm saying is bullshit. Let me on high, Dad, because I don't know what that means. I'll get back to that later. so so I see these things and I see these requirements that are put on Mgtow, these requirements of alt-rightism that is put on Mgtow. When Milo came around a few years ago, everybody was, "Oh, Milo, he's the greatest thing in the whole world." Where'd that take you guys? What happened to that? What happened to all that hate speech that he was spewing out? Alex Jones was never a Mgtow. It's like, I just laugh, and it's some random requirement around here that I have to do that, or at least I have to display those. I have to display those characteristics, or I can't be a part of YouTube. And lately, I think, gosh, YouTube pushes it. If you're an anti-hate person, that is boring. I mean, there's nothing more boring than one of us anti-hate people. That doesn't get people excited. It doesn't get the views. I looked at this kid. Just like I said, I looked at this kid. 6,000 immediate subs is he was basically a moron too. 6,000 immediate subs just because he displayed hate. And I have to question YouTube. I have to question Google. Are your algorithms a little off? Are your algorithms a little skewed there, Google? Because I'm thinking it is. I'm thinking it is. This is one of those gingers ones I made. I'm beginning to hate them now. I hate those things now. No, I don't. Uh, no, I'm beginning to dislike them a little bit. Hate and dislike, is that the same thing? It's not the same thing. I can dislike a beer. I can dislike a person's character. It doesn't mean I hate them. And I think that's the difference with normal people and these people that demand hate. Hate demands hate, and if I dislike something, I can voice my opinion against it in a reasonable way. If I dislike the way some of the feminists act, uh, I can voice my opinion from it in a reasonable way without displaying casual cruelty, and hence ruining my thing that I do. This thing that I do here. But they want you to display casual. They want you to display that, and unless they see it, it's they don't believe you're part of their club or something. And I think it's the most ridiculous thing. Mgtow used to never be like that. At least there was a few of the intellectual bigots or the intellectual people that would display this sort of casual cruelty towards other groups, and that was about as far as it went. But lately, my God, we got the right and we got the left and we got the Islam nationalists, and we've seen like the Islam nationalists, their hate in that. When the young boy was yelling, was staring down the Indian, and the at the White House there, and the nationalists, the black Islam nationalists, were yelling hate things at him, like they were demanding like that everybody around them display this vilification for white people. And I suppose that goes for Jewish people or whoever they don't like. They probably don't like the LGBT crowd, and they don't like and the LGBT crowd, they demand too. They demand hate. They demand that I hate these old white guys. These old white guys in their eyes. And it's like, no, I can't support you either. I can't support you, and I can't support you, and I can't support you, and you, and you, and you, and you. You're all acting like that. And it seems immature. It's like a bunch of little kids, they get in an argument and run down the street. I'm going to go get Johnny and Billy to agree with me that you're an ass. And then you run back up, and then it's like, oh man, I got all the support from all the little kids in the neighborhood. It's like, man, that is so immature. And we do it around Mgtow, and we're not allowed to say it. We're not allowed to display it, or you're a lefty. And that's my favorite. You're a lefty. I get it from every different way. I get it from the black nationalists. I get it from the feminists. I get it from within Mgtow. I get it from the anti-feminists. I get it from the atheists. I get it from all, because I don't believe in anything most of these guys say. It's ridiculous. As you can see, I just came in from the outside, and I wanted to talk and just sit and talk to you guys about a subject that bothers me, and that's hate. And hate, how can you tell it? What is it? And it's simply in the title. The hate will demand the hate of you, and you can't be in their group if you don't agree with them, if you don't agree with their ideologies, or that person. And that's what you see around. You have to hate that person over there. That person. It's important that you do, and then you can be a part of my group. No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So I'll tell you, Trav, the intellectual content of Mgtow today is way below some of the past years. Yeah, it's waning. It's waning lately. I rarely watch a bunch of videos. I watched Shining and Messenger's video. I didn't know that came out. SFM put it up, and so I went and watched that earlier. And interesting, interesting like always. And the videos I watch lately, I just snicker. Some of them are very entertaining. The incel videos, I love the incel videos. The incels just sit there and laugh, and I usually have a sandwich and a beer, and I'm laughing. The incels, they're like, they hate the feminists. They so hate the feminists. And what are they saying? They're begging and they're simping, and they so hate the feminists because of one thing. They can't get in that. They can't get in there, If they would try to get back to their original birth weight of 7.6 ounces, so they can crawl back in that if they could. And it's just funny and entertaining. But we had some, as I talked about yesterday, with the young man that killed everything around him, and they caught him today. And the other young man, he walked into a bank, and he shot all the bank tellers, and he shot a woman there, and it was 4 women. And then we see right away, he didn't. What was interesting about that story is he just sat there and waited for the police, like, this is a statement. And what was the statement? I say, well, this is horrible, but what was that statement that he was saying? This is a statement. He wanted the police to come and arrest him. The statement was. And I've been in this situation with the bank, and I know what happened in that thing. He probably had a wife or a girlfriend that drained his bank account, and he looked up, and all of a sudden his bank account's drained. And who does he blame? He blames the people. I've been in that situation. My wife drained me of $120,000 simply by I had a signature hold on my account. At that time, she simply walked in and says, I'm Mrs. Joe. I'm Mrs. Joe. And they gave her a card, and she drained the bank account. I was like, man, the banks are gynocentric systems of hate. They hate men. That's what I thought for a long time. And they went in with a gun, and he shot all those people, and he sat down. And that was the interesting part. That was the curious part to me. He sat down and waited for the police. And I was thinking, well, that's a statement. Does he have a manifesto drawn up? Because I'd love to read that. That would be interesting. Yeah, the poor incels. Yeah, that's what I think, too. It's never been easier. There's not a week that go by where this big fat guy here doesn't get hit on. It's like, there's not a week that goes by where I'm not in a Home Depot and something comes slithering up next to me and goes, hey, twice, 3, 4 times a week sometimes. And it's like, oh man, it's never been easier. There's so much out there that, oh man, I just don't understand it. The first Mgtow purge was blind. Is that Janet? I see the Janet thing, but I don't see the was blind. You have to, yeah. So demanding hate. Do you get that? Do you ever, drift around Mgtow? Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, I like the new name. I've got a new name too. I got the same name. I'm Trav, and that's it. But I added a new. I do that once in a while just to shake Google up a little bit, because they hate it when you change, because they got to do a little bit of work, and then the next 6 months I'll change it back, and that shakes them up. But with the incels, what do the incels demand that we hate? When they come around, they demand that you hate this unfair system. Their unfair system has nothing to do with politics, and it has nothing to do with anything. Yeah, the intros want to make a statement like nanite like a nanite colony that is programmed to kill humans, release the nanites into the city. Yeah, they do. That's how I say release the incels. Like they're cracking. It makes me crack up, and it's funny. And you got to keep a sense of humor around here. Sometimes my sarcasm and my humor is not taken too well on in written form, so I have to put SI in back of everything, or LOL, or a happy face, or a sad face, or something, because sarcasm goes sarcasm around YouTube. Once you find out that 72% of the people that are on YouTube are autistic and they don't understand sarcasm or humor or irony and them things. That was Kumamoto's research in 1983, by the way. Uh, yeah, so hate demands hate. What demands of hate do we get put on us in Mgtow? What do they demand of you? I'm too old, and I'm too sick of it, and I'm too lazy anymore, and I just don't have it in me to hate, to have all that hate, to sponsor hate, to do that. And it will reflect in your channel too, because I thought like a week ago when I was running this mole over in my head, what would happen if I came out and I started projecting all this hate towards the people, at the border, and brown people, and Jewish people, and this. I'd probably get 6,000, 8,000, 9,000 viewers right away. And if I was such that greedy bastard, that would be the way to do it. They would just start donating. And I love this guy because no one articulates things like I articulate things. I think I could help their cause if I was that hate-filled individual. And luckily, they don't have too many really bright people in that because, yeah, you just kind of notice it. But if I did, Google would open up a whole new atmosphere for me. There would be a whole new sensationalism about it and everything. And that's what it's all about with Google and YouTube. I think it's all about hate. Hate sells. And that's what they want. I think they took their original slogans about let the people talk, and they let that go way too far, and they don't understand it anymore. No, if you want a popular channel, man, just go white nationalism. You know what would really be cool if you were like, go white nationalism and you're a black guy. That would be just really, because I would watch, because it would just be funny. Oh yeah, and I do see that a lot. I see that. I see the anti-Hispanic, and then I see some Hispanics in the anti-Hispanic groups. I was watched that with the same video. If you watch right around, if you go to CNN or one of these channels that have the portioned video that they release, right around 45 seconds, the Indian is beating on the drum. I want one of those drums so bad too. I've been like looking at them. But I want a big Irish one, the big Irish drums, like a boom, 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 boom. But he's boom, 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 boom. And that, by the way, is called the AIM song. It's AIM, the AIM song. And then there was this short Hispanic man with a mega hat on behind him. And I was thinking, man, do you hate yourself that bad? Do you hate people? Do you hate, I have a buddy like that too. He's Hispanic and he's alt-right. And I was like, really? Because that's just really interesting, and that's why I hang around with you because you are so interesting. That cognitive dissonance in his head. He hates himself, but we get demanded. It gets demanded of me too when I watch some of these young Turks or any of those shows, and they demand that I hate old establishment white guys. And they like, you got to be progressive, and I try to tell them, man, I'm progressive as F. I'm progressive as fuck. I mean, just look at Mgtow. We're progressive as, I say this all the time. I think it angers people when I say it too. Mgtow is progressive is we don't believe in marriage, we don't believe in religion, we don't believe in a lot of things. We rub against the grain of most society. We're looking we're we're pretty much a I don't know, an anti-government group too. The vast majority of us is anti-government, and it's not like that Oklahoma City bombing sort of. What was that cat's name that did the Oklahoma City? I forget. It was such a long time ago. That kind of stuff. And then you get the New World Orders that think there's a plot to destroy Western society. And that's just funny. I love listening to those guys because people used to know back when, I don't know, back when maybe 2004 or 2005, that was sensationalism and it was just interesting. It's like that was from the diaphragm. It was like lizard people. And the guy on Saturday nights that used to do the shows about the aliens and stuff, he used to know that the New World Order, you knew that it was just this fake concept that they had drawn up so they can start these controversial subjects and everything. And somewhere along the line, everybody started taking that seriously. You started militia movements and oh God, the Oath Keepers and sovereign citizens and, the patriots and the real patriots. And those are the real Scottish and these extremist groups that see federal government as the enemy to the people and promote baseless conspiracy theories. No, I do government. I mean, we fall in this category as Mgtow to sort of this lighter aspect. We know the government, the government has a lot of rules and regulations that don't really line up with the interests of the male, and we know that it's not something that has to be proven. I think that's one of those things that's an observable fact in this world. If you just look at if you ask any, and I think. I think that most of the feminists and everything, if you just said, and you can see it in a lot of the sentiments, and you can see it a lot of people is the family courts stacked against men, and they'll go, yeah, we know that, but you're not supposed to be arguing about that. That's what they'll say. Yeah, we know that, but in this sense, it's not worth talking about. They're saying it's not that big of a deal. Because, well, they don't believe it's that big of a deal because it doesn't affect them, but it is a big deal for me. And yeah, maybe that's what with Dougie with the cats too. It was a big deal for him, and somehow this affected his life, but it really didn't affect his life, and it really doesn't affect the cats outside unless they urinate on my tires or something like that. Really don't affect my life. Then I don't have to pay income tax for them, and that's a good thing because sooner or later they're going to want to tax my dog and my cat. I'm sure of that. And they did try that. Really, they did try to tax my dog and my cat because they made you force you at one time to buy the little license, and that's just a coin, a representation of the tax. That's Caesar's tax. Now Caesar had those tax coins, and those were, they should give one of those. And they wanted to tax my pedal bike at one time and make me buy a license for my pedal bike, and everybody said, no, that's pushing it a little too far. I mean, they want to make sure they're collecting taxes from the little girl that sells the Kool-Aid down the street at the Kool-Aid stand. It's like, it's so cute. She makes $1 a cup so she can buy a new dolly and shit, And it's like the police are there. We're shutting this thing down. This is an illegal business. It's like a mafia business here. It's like, you guys have gone too far. And that's what the Mgtows complain about. It's like, you guys have gone too far. It's an observable fact. But the new world order, that's a hard one to put your thumb on too, because that involves believing that there's this group of Bilderbergs and who was the other group that they're dead set on destroying the Western world. Or who's their favorite? Soros, George Soros. He's the leader of the band. Now I did the first time I looked at George Soros, I was like, I went to Wikipedia like everybody does. Anybody that Googles, you know how to Google, go Google George Soros. And I'm looking at that guy going, this is the leader of the new world, huh? I started looking at all of his stuff and going, oh yeah, these are horrible programs. He's just pushing on us, all these programs of altruism. But we talked about that kind of altruism last night. It's a cloak for, it's just a cloak to cover up for, the greed of the world. And the obvious facts about that is you got 126 billion bucks, dude. Maybe he's one of these guys with 200. It's like, that's a little excessive in this world. Do you really need 30 mansions and $200 billion? Do you really need to be that powerful? And that's what they're saying. It's an indication of his power, and everybody's afraid of power, and nobody gets that kind of power. Nobody gets slaves in this world. And that's what they're saying. Nobody gets that kind of power. Nobody deserves slaves. And what you got is some slaves there, bitch. But there are better ways to articulate these things than going about a new world. I wonder who all those, if it ever got snapshots of that. The New World Order, that's one of those things that, man, everybody, they're so evasive that no one's ever got a snapshot or a recording of these people. They're like aliens. So now we look and we say, oh yeah, the people used to know that was garbage, that there couldn't be this axiom of evil that's out there. And it was just something interesting to talk about until Alex Jones really started taking it seriously, because, man, he wanted to be the king of late night George Norrie. He wanted to take over that George Norrie spot, because I love George Norrie too. I think that was one of my favorite late night shows. So we got the LGBT group. Who else demands hate of me? The LGBT groups, they demand that I hate old white guys because they think they don't like them. And the far left groups thinks that I demand that I hate the Antifa. That's an interesting. I wish I had an Antifa friend, because I'd like to go deep into that mind. That would be somewhere. Now I have a KKK friend, and I have an anti-Jewish friend, and I just sometimes listen, giggle. It's like, oh man, and you can't change their mind. It's like trying to change someone's mind on YouTube. You guys do know that it's impossible to change some of these white knights and simps and beggars that come around here. Trying to change their mind is like, whew, that's have a beer and sit back, because that's going to take a long time. You're never going to change someone's mind about anything. They have to change their own mind. They have to have a deep-seated desire to stop whatever that they're doing. It's like a drug addiction too. To stop a drug addiction or alcoholism or something like that, you have to have a deep-seated desire to stop, or else we go back out there and try again, and keep doing that until you get to that spot where you have a deep-seated desire to stop what you're doing. And I think that's Mgtow too. It's like we sit back and we look at the simps and the white knights and the beggars and the incels and the TFLers and the PUAs and all these groups that have certain demands on you. There are demands in those groups too. If you don't believe in our philosophy, then you're not a part of our group and you can't be our friend. And most of us know that as insulating yourself or putting yourself inside a box. You're boxing yourself off when you do that. But most of the people in life, these general matters of prejudice and basis, the factors that they base this fear or on. It's so metaphysical sometimes. It's so extreme. It's so violent. We can see the violence lately too with the incels. Oh man! And I look at the young boy the other day, and I'm thinking, boy, the whole life he had his whole life in front of him, and he wasn't necessarily a. There is a new rating system among incels too, and I was trying to learn that the other day. I was trying to learn the incel rating system. They have, yes, they do. Yes, they do. They have an incel rating system on how to rate the incels, and you fall in one of these categories. And it's become such a the TFL incel groups. They got these subcategories like Mgtow. You could be Mgtow 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5, and yeah, I always say that Mgtow is not a level. You can never get to a level on it. You can have you take steps like any philosophy, any cognitive philosophy. What is it? Any cognitive therapy would be steps into, and that would be simply from like death. You go through these 4 things when you come to acceptance and that sort of stuff. But yeah, but MGTOWs have incels have levels of incel now, and I think that's just the most fascinating thing. I'm like, yeah, please talk, please tell me. I just need to know this stuff, and they have a whole different other language too now. And I was trying to learn the language the other day. Some just have to learn their own. Let me let me let's put that up there, and some just have to learn their own way, right? Yeah. So who's all in here today? Let me give some shout outs to Was Blind, Magnus Online, Daria Morgan Durfer. Is Daria Morgan Durfer the one from Daria from Beavis and Butthead? Is that the Daria? I, I haven't seen Beavis and Butthead. Oh, only thing I'm sure about is human greed and indifference. Yeah, human greed is something. That's something that, boy, that's a deep hole, the rabbit hole to go down. When I look at human greed and what makes those things. What is a good incel channel? You know what I was listening to, and they have these. They have the. You know what's best to do when they have 4 or 5 of them in a chat. Because they'll start using the language, they'll start talking back and forth to each other, and they'll start using the language. And I find that who was the last incel I was watching? Oh God, I can't even remember his name. Well, you can always get it from Jamie and that group, and kind of branch out and look at the incels. Uh, but there's the Steve incels too, and the off branch of the Steve Hoka incels, and the off branch of and you just have to look. And when the incels get together, they usually get together on one of these group things, like us. We used to get together at Mgtow, and now they have this unique, special language, and it's just wow. I was so fascinated, and I didn't want to say too much because they hate me anyways. Empty. Yes, I thought that was Daria Morgan. I forgot her name, and she's she's interesting. That's an interesting. I always thought, boy, Daria is really interesting. Beavis and Butthead are really interesting too. Everybody has 2 friends that they call Beavis and Butthead. Everybody knows that every one of you guys, you get everybody that I ever know in my life, they all have at least 2 friends out there that in the group of their friends that they go, oh yeah, them 2 guys are just like Beavis and Butthead. It's funny too. I used to have 2 friends like that. They would smoke just they would smoke oodles of dope and just we were like, oh, here comes Beavis and Butthead. They're gonna screw something up. Yeah, I would start with Jamie for the incels. You know the groups. Maybe I see Janice when I go over there. A lot of times I'll see Janice just sitting back, just making a comment or two and listening in, because it is rather wild to listen to, and it's crazy. So, and they do have their own. So they've developed their own MGTOW. It's like we from Mgtow. And this is interesting, from Mgtow, since the inception of Mgtow. How many groups have come off of Mgtow? We first group to leave was like the PUAs, and then they started saying they're the PUAs, and then the second group to leave. And I can't say PUA wasn't around that. I don't want to tell them that PUA was around, because it was back in the '80s, at least, when I seen my first PUA, and that was Rosie. Rosie had a had a radio station out of the Washington D.C. on the pirate radio. You can go listen to Rosie, and then that's actually where Ross came from. Ross V. There was Ross and Rosie, and then Ross V stole Ross's name and tried to pretend like he was in, but that would make him about 68 now. Because Rosie and Ross were like 42, 43 at the time. Yeah. But yeah, the PUA group sort of came off of that, and then there's the going Galt, and this whole new Ayn Rand objectivism people that came off of Mgtow, and Ibmar came off of Mgtow, and now the TFLs and the incels all came off of Mgtow. So it was a growing influence, and there was a huge growth. Mgtow was a huge growing influence, and some of them structured themselves a lot like Mgtow and everything. But now they have their whole new thing, and I was just glad to see that. You know, that was always what was supposed to happen in Mgtow, that subgroups would form from the groups, and it would span out with the ideology that you now call the red pill ideology. We won. We can all go home. We won. Right. Because so much has changed. So much has changed. That's a little stiff. I'm growing sick of them, the beers. I just have them around now, and I was like, give them away if I can. They are BS. Yeah, they are. So today, hate, demanding hate. Where do you see this? I asked that question, Level. Do you see this in your experience around the manosphere and the manosphere, the MRAs? They demand hate. Yeah, I suppose they do. They're anti-feminist, and they demand that you hate the feminists. Or I don't know who they hate now. I'm sure there's someone they hate. And it just seems so hard, and it's so demanding of you. And, it's so demanding of a person in Mgtow. You're not going to be popular if you don't take on one of these special brands of hate. And if I wanted to be an Islam nationalist, I suppose I'd have to start vilifying myself, which would be interesting. That would be interesting. I could maybe, clue them in on a few things. Too much hate. There's way too much hate. So I guess what I'm trying to say today is, when you pick your friends around here, you pick your groups around here, just kind of step back at a certain point and see what they demand out of you. What's the demands to be in that group? If you have to hate a person, or if you have to hate a philosophy, if you have to hate a cause, if you have to project casual cruelty towards an opposing person, group, ideology, or cause, that should be pretty much a good indicator of maybe this isn't for me, and will that pay off and everything. And I guess that's what we talk about here with the shills and stuff like that. If I'm willing to sell my soul for what pays off in here, and I'm sure that yeah, me too, pretentious hermit. Me too. Yeah, they manipulate people. They demand people. Yeah, and it's such a lighthearted. You can tell. You can always tell. Sometimes you hear some of these guys, and they're not really into it, but they have to say it, or else they're going to lose all those subs. You got to say it. You got to say that the brown people are coming over the border, and it's like a herd. It's a herd, and they all got knapsacks of crack. Now, working for the DAA back in the day, and working for I worked out of the army, and I worked with people. I was in the war on drugs, and I was a contractor, so I was one of those hammers that they used on people. Uh, Back in the day, I know for sure that it's not. It's not people coming over the borders with knapsacks full of drugs. He's just running across the desert with 2 bottles of what looks like piss water. That's not a reality, but that's what most people think. And just even Trump, he has this idea that it was all these people just running across the border with knapsacks of drugs. And I would say, no, no, President Trump, look for the right of you and look to the left of you. One of those guys are importing drugs right through they're coming right through the border crossings with the guards all paid off and everything. Yeah, that's where it's coming through. We had to do investigations into those things, and I started waking up. And most of the time, it's the very government that we work for too, bringing them in for pharmaceutical companies. That's what makes the opium crisis so hard to take for me. It's like I look and I was like, oh man, because I remember we went down to Peru, I think it was, and we were going to chart this. We had what was called SATCOM 1 at the time. We were SATCOM 2, and SATCOM 1 was satellite communications, and we were mapping the area, looking for there was legal areas where they're growing this, and we were looking for the mirror images of the illegal areas and we were going to chop those down. And the United States government came back in with harvesters, and I was like, no, you need plows, you don't need. And they said, no, we're harvesting it. And they brought it up and they gave it to the pharmaceutical company. So most of the time it's the government themselves selling it to pharmaceutical companies that are now getting $10 for an oxycodone, while my neighbor over there that's dying of cancer can't get an oxycodone because they're saying she's addicted. Yeah, cancer didn't play very well into that, did it? It's much easier for the doctors to be selling them at $30 a pop, and the pharmaceutical companies to be selling opium and opium-like products for $30 a pop, because it's so much better for our country. But that's what makes it so hard to take, because we know President Trump, look to the right of you and look to the left of you. One of these two gentlemen are the new Pablo. The new Pablo, what's the guy's name? That was all the drugs, and yeah, that's who's bringing the drugs. And they're not the brown people running over the border with 2 jugs of piss water and a knapsack full of coke. It's no. Oh man. Hello, Taz. Hello, Whiskey. Hello, everybody that came in today. I'm just rambling on a Saturday night about things that are important to me. But I will never place any pressures on you to believe what I believe. Escobar, yeah, I don't know why that left my brain. I just couldn't think of that. I try to put those things on. Hey, I was watching something interesting the other day. It was a movie on the Fire Festival, when they said that I didn't know about this thing. Can you imagine that? I was so out of the loop on the Fire Festival, and the millennials, that was going to be the millennials. The me millennials idea of Woodstock, and they're all going to go down to the Bahamas down there and rent an island and have Woodstock, and a reoccurring Woodstock at that. So the island that they picked was the island that was owned by Pablo Escobar, and I was like, it was like, is that a great thing, really? But the millennials get all excited about that stuff. That's an interesting show if you ever get to watch it. Fire Festival. This guy McFarlane, I think his name was. When I don't know if he's in jail now or what's, but it tells a lot about our culture and a lot about our society. And I was just sitting there fascinated, because this is the first time I've heard the I heard the phrase almost in a meme-ish way being used. Oh, he's just trying to start a new fire fest. And now I know I'm in the know now. I'm not such a see. You can keep things from me for a while. These things have sediment on the bottom of them, and that's the only thing I can't really. You gotta get off. You got sediment, so you have to look where you're at. I had a I had a I had a science teacher when I was in the eighth grade. I got suspended once, and she had a she had a delusion or something. I don't know what it was, and all the kids knew about it. Kids can be true too. Kids can be cruel, and she had a delusion that if you were sitting there and you look through a bottle at her, she would just go nuts. So everybody once in a while, somebody got the gumption to come in, and I did it once. I was like, I just got the gumption to come into class and look at her through the end of a bottle, and then she went nuts. And I found, yeah, that's true. I don't know what that was about. She had some kind of fear about that or two. Kids will find out absolutely everything about you, and whatever button they could push, given a year, give those little son of a bitches a year, and they will find out what buttons to push on you. And I used to hear the teachers talk about that. Oh, they're just searching for that button to push. But they will. I think that's YouTube too. Given give anybody a year around here, and they'll find out which buttons to push on you. So you have to constantly just kind of either let it roll off your back or just become a more humorful person. Oh, that was good. Yeah. You want to talk about that Mgtow thread? We can talk about that. Don't hate others. Hate the system that enslaves men. Um, now we can. That's what I think. Mgtow, the culmination of Mgtow is because we know this system exists. We know it's. We talked about that yesterday, and we talked about how saturated and how permeated. When we look at that, when I look at Congress and I look at these things. It's never so obvious to me that only 8 people in the Senate are single people, are single guys, but 42% of the society out here are single people. And I think it's more because you got to include all children, but they say, oh no, under 18 you can't include them. This is only from 70 up to 75 and 18 and under. And I was like, no, all them people are single too. It just makes sense, but they won't include them and everything. But they'll keep the total at the total population, which then they start fudging the numbers. But then that makes me crazy. I was like, you can't do it like that. But they do. But yeah, 8 people in Congress are, and a lot of those people, when you look at them, if you look at this thing, there are so many congressmen and congresswomen and senators and so that are married to each other too. They believe in this institution, and it's not like Congress went to that institution. It's like that institution came to Congress and saturated it. Over the years, the religious institution is in Congress. You can remove that religious marital system from Congress, and I think it should be demanded that they don't project this sort of religiosism. But no, and it's a requirement too. And that tells a lot about Congress. It tells a lot about being our president. I don't think there's ever been a bachelor president. Has there ever been a bachelor president? I look and was JFK? Yeah, JFK. No, JFK wasn't a bachelor. He was close to a bachelor, but but yeah, there's never been this bachelor president. If there was, I love people sometimes. Their behaviors disgust me. I am too tolerant too often. Yeah, and I think that's an important. You to dislike someone's natural. I dislike some people too, and there's people out there that I just can't take their presence and around me. Generally, people that they say absurd things, and I just can't take that in my brain. I remove them immediately from my life and everything. But there's a difference between dislike and hate, and hate requires hate, and that's what I was trying to say today. That these people will require you to hate the same people, or you can't be their friend, and then that's a they're holding you hostage to the hate. It's like, oh man, I really want to be your friend because you're interesting, but I just don't believe in that hate thing. And I go, no, you can't be my friend. You go, okay, I'll display a little casual cruelty towards these other people just so I can be your friend. And business contracts like that too. Like, if you're going to get a business, you have to display the same casual cruelty towards this group that this guy hates. Otherwise, you can't get the business contract, and that works itself up in government. Um, and it works itself, yeah, it works itself all the way up into government. Like I was saying, only 8% of these people. So these people in government that are all displaying this religialistic mating ritual that you have to be, that rolls down on our society, and it rolls down to the, but they don't represent us, and they don't represent the common good anymore. And that's what I say. If you don't represent all the people, and if this Congress doesn't represent all the people, then they don't represent the common good. And then we have to start looking at how do we either make you people start representing the common good, or we're going to have to take your authority away from you. And I know you're not going to like that. But they enslaved men too. There's it's the two most common rights that get violated within the divorce courts. And the thing is you get placed as a slave to take care of these people. And if you're working for no pay, you're a slave, and that's just a fact of it. That's commonly not looked at like that by our government. Or if you don't do this, you will go to jail, and that's, if you don't give us money, you will go to jail. And that's either with taxes, or it's with either taxes or child support, or alimony. And mostly, I don't see a lot of people going to jail for child support, but if you violate that alimony, that's where I see most of people going to jail, because that's the big one. That's the one that women, if you're getting money from somebody else, and in a situation where you're not working and this person has to work for it, that's slavery. That's slavery. Yeah, I don't see no evil. I don't hear. They pretend that they don't see it. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis was the first lady I remember. Yeah, I remember Jacqueline. I always had a thing for her when I was a kid because I liked the way she walked. She was my Nawalt, Jacqueline Kennedy, because she held herself in a stoicism of that sort of Southern honor, that she was a picture of Southern honor. She had the stoicness about her, and I thought, and she had those great hats. But but that was my Nawalt. Yeah, it's hard for me to hate people that believe in lies, that are misled. Yeah. Especially, when I look at the conspiracy theories, that used to be how I used to measure it. I would say, is this a conspiracy theory that you're talking about? Can you, and in pragmaticism, you would start asking, is this metaphysical, or is this an observable fact? If it's not an observable fact, it was like, no, but there's this group out there, dude, they live over there, and they're Jews, and they want to take all your money, but I've never seen them. and it's like aliens too. Everybody's like, oh man, I was always aliens, but just somebody give me a really good photograph of that. Someone show that and get some film. Everybody's got a camera nowadays, and we still can't get a good photograph. It's like ridiculousness. Big went on. He can have a press conference. We can show him in the media. We'll make him a media hero. Put him on with J-Lo or the Kardashians, and then I'll believe that stuff when that happens, because the aliens are going to have to be on with the Kardashians, or else they're not going to get any exposure. Yeah, I wonder how Mad Aussie Bushman is doing. Mad Aussie Bushman, I don't know how he's doing. I don't know. Or Howard Dare. Yeah, that's an interesting subject around what happened to Howard Dare. Howard Dare. He disappeared. The feminists come and they got him and they kidnapped him and they're holding Howard for hostage. That would be funny. I'd love that. That would be a great story. Mgtow gets kidnapped and they're holding him hostage, demanding that we all just do. If we don't do a public recantation, they're not going to let him go. All Mgtows have to do a public recantation, or they're just going to hold Howard hostage. Why didn't they take Sandman? HD has MI'd for almost a month. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I think he's just having some back issues because that was his last video. And it's most obvious. We won't start drawing up conspiracy. Howard got married. Howard's dating. Howard's been kidnapped by feminists. The most obvious is his last video was about lower back pain. And he may have had to go get surgery, or he's just so miserable right now that he can hardly talk. And we'll just leave it at that for now. Don't quote me, but I get the feeling Howard went to pay-per-view on his channel to avoid people targeting him. He might have. He might have. That would be a good idea for him, because then they can sit around and they can they can do that alt-right thing and that Trumpisms, and without being so bothered by the left. They could just sit around and talk, and they could all be like, Trump is so great and I love that guy. I would just suck him off if he's here. That's the other people. They could do that, and they don't have to do reality right now. But there is a point that's coming now too with I think it's an interesting breaking point lately with the Mueller investigation that you guys might have been a little wrong about that guy. He is quite a crook. But that'll be interesting to watch play out in the thing. But in the media, yeah, the media is always great. I've been watching a little too much of the media lately. I've been fascinated with the ongoing Mueller investigations, which I shouldn't do. I really shouldn't do. First, the new Gillette crap, and now is there a toilet paper commercial now of a young man in a bathroom crying over a girl dumping him? Oh yeah, is that an incel commercial? That would be interesting to watch it. An incel commercial, just some incel down, and it's like, don't be like this guy. It's toxic masculinity. Buy our toilet paper. That's funny. I seen one the other day. There was they're going to interject all these social issues into products now. It's like Bic, don't be an incel. Because big boys start fires with Bic. Oh, that's just funny. But that's the way the world's going now, and you just have to laugh at it, The incels are causing themselves a little too much. I don't even know if these guys don't. I wonder if now these last two shooters this week, they both seem sort of incel to me, but I'm an aged male. I'm, just burly and old, and I have a rough bark and shit. All 21-year-old kids look like girls to me. Really, they do. They got to be really kind of big. They got to look like Baker Mayfield with that Baker beard of his, not to look like a girl to me. They start shaving and shit, and they all look like, oh, is that a skinny girl or is that a dude? I know they hate me for that. I do. I understand it, but when I was a young man with my long hair and my hippie jeans too, I heard the same thing from the old guys. Is that a little girl? Is Carly Ellis an HD sock puppet? I don't know. That's been brought up before. I think only Carly can answer that. And would it matter? I don't know. Big boys don't cry. Yeah, is that a new commercial? Big boys don't cry. Someone go, what's that Terry? The Terry guy that was Terry SFM's. He always talks about the guy Terry something. He's the really big guy. it's like It's like, yeah, he cried on TV. Go tell him not to cry. He'll pound your face. And geez, that guy's huge too. He's got arms. Like, I want to have arms like that. I always wanted to have arms like that. And I tried all my life. The biggest I could get him was slightly over 20 inches. Terry Crews, yeah, he was raped, wasn't he, by a Hollywood executive? Um, and they say, look, Me Too's for men too. Terry Crews is the men too sort of thing. And what's the other guy? The Green Mile too. That guy was huge. That guy's so cool too. He's like the Green Mile. That wasn't Terry Crews. Sometimes I get those two confused because they're just the two big guys. And the Green Mile. That was a great movie. I'm up from the diaphragm. I'm trying to get one straight from the diaphragm there. Terry Crews. Yeah, that's the guy. He was raped. That must have been a hard rape. I would say it would take about 5 guys to do that. But hey, happens. He was so where is HD? That's the question. We'll find out when he comes back. I'm sure he'll have an interesting story. He was kept in a storage unit somewhere by feminists, and they just fed him like gruel and made him do a public recantation. God, I'd love to see that. It's like the clerics in Iran, the way they used to make the Iranian people do public recantations on their Iranian TV. It's like, yeah, they'll just beat them. Night Drive, deal with the people in your chat. Carly is a narc blocker. No, that's my thing. I don't. If you're gonna come here, you got to block the 3 dots over on the side. You got to block her. If you don't want to see her, you got to do it yourself. That's my rule because I just think it's funny. It's just funny. So I always talk about the 3 dots, and the 3 dots are on the side. If you don't want to see someone's comments, just hit those 3 dots. It's not my responsibility to do that. I don't hate anybody. Did you? Can you still see her then? Oh, you have to take your Google down, bring it back up, I think. I'm not sure how that works. But I don't know who is anybody. You guys want to see something? Out of all the people that are subbed to me, I got 0% on my analytics. I have 0 women that are subbed to me. And that tells me that I do these things, and Carly and Janet and everybody comes around, and they don't show up on the Google Analytics as females. I have 0%, 0. You can see it, and it's like no. Because you go to your analytics, if you want to see it, I'll show you. We can do that and go through that. They'll say no. So I don't believe anybody's who they say they are in Mgtow, unless you like this and I show all this prettiness. Like I don't believe anybody is. I don't believe HD's HD because HD doesn't ever show himself. I don't believe anybody hiding behind the app. That was one of my biggest arguments with Mgtow. One of my first arguments with Mgtow. Unless you're showing yourself, and unless you have an actual social presence, then you're not a real person. It's just, we can argue all day either way, who is who and who's doing who. But unless I see that, I have nothing. I have no observable facts to go on, and I'm a pragmaticist. So That's just the way I think, and I wish everybody thought like that, and I wish YouTube thought like that too. If you want to have a YouTube account, you have to have a social presence, and that would include showing a picture ID, and that picture ID goes on your. They'll could blot out all the important information, but if that was one of my rules. That's why nobody comes on anymore either, too, because I demand that okay, if you want to come on my show, you have to have a social presence. You have to have a face. It's like you have to have a face so I can see who you are. And along with my three dots rules, I think I take care of those things. Hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's as bad. Anybody that's ever self-doxed themselves, and I self-doxed myself at some. I used to think, oh man, the feminists were gonna be like showing up at my door, and it's gonna kill my business, and nobody's gonna love me anymore, and boss is gonna fire me, and all that shit. Nah, nobody really cares that much. Feminists never showed up. They don't throw beer bottles full of gas through my windows, and occasionally Steve Hoka drives by and he yells Traversable. Shakes his I hate you, Traversable. That's the worst thing that happens. There are like three people that live in my neighborhood that know I'm Traversable Mgtow, and they call me that. But it's not really so bothersome that they're gonna ruin my life. I don't show myself face, but many MGTOWs know what I look like. I know what you look like. I know it. Whiskey's a handsome guy. You should see how handsome that guy is, and you'd be shocked. I think most of the guys, when they find out that we're all these normal, kind of normal guys, that's why I doxed myself. I self-doxed myself because everybody got this opinion that there was this thing going around for the first few years in MGTOW that all MGTOWs were these dumpy guys that were sitting around their basement. They're low IQ, and they got pictures of Chad and Stacy up on their on their walls, and they're just these pathetic losers. And I was like, no, I can't buy into that. And that's where that goes with the hiding behind avatars and stuff like that. And I mean, most MGTOWs are just normal guys, and Whiskey is really handsome. You guys should see how handsome that guy is. Oh, I'm not as pretty as. No, nobody's this pretty. My God. I love doing that. That's so funny because I'm old and I'm rough. It's like, man, if I rub against the dog, it yelps because I'm so hard. My bark is so hard anymore. But but that is just funny to do that, and most MGTOWs are really just normal guys, the guys you see every day outside on the street. It's a lot of times I can't tell the difference, and between the guys. I know what most of the guys look like, but I think that's a qualification that make it would stop a lot of the foolishness around. If everybody had to have a social presence on YouTube, and you had to have like this social ID that somebody can go to and say, "Oh no, this guy's a real person. He's real." I know it. It would cause a lot of the shenanigans would end around YouTube, but YouTube kind of likes that, like, we can just kind of. And I think, for a while there, I even thought my copycat account. You guys know my copycat account. He just copies me, just goes around and he says horrible things to people with my effigy up there, which is funny. I had to explain to someone this week that no, that's a copycat account. Didn't you go and click on the three dots? Click on the three dots and go to the actual. Because someone was yelling at me. He just was like, "I hate you, Traversable." And I says, "Why do you hate me? I'm such a nice guy. I don't believe in casual cruelty. So all my comments are nice and pleasurable, or sarcastic and funny. And I don't believe in casual cruelty. It's one of the things I hold as a truth in my life. So this person came around. It's like, I hate you, Mgtow Traversable. You're such an awful person. And I say, no, click on the three dots. The three dots. Yeah, I love that saying because that's like the movie with Sylvester Stallone. You got the three shells. Oh no, and explain the three shells to you. um, I have no problem. I'm funny. I'm if you, most of my shit is sarcastically funny, presented in a serious way, and I think most people begin to realize that after a while that he's just sarcastically funny, presented in a serious way. And that makes it double funny because you'll wake up in the middle of the night and go, Trav really said that. Yeah, my copycat guy, I worry about the mental health. I worry about that so worries me. And I know I shouldn't worry about someone that hates me, that wants me to believe everything that they want me to believe. Unless I believe in what they believe, they're going to pursue me for the rest of my life and stalk me. And that's just funny. And it's like, oh man, but I sympathize and I like, oh dude, I wish I was still a counselor so I can counsel them through that. I would help them. I'd be so empathetic and like, why do you hate me so much? We can get over this hate. I have a program that we can start. I got papers here and I got brochures. That's what being a counselor was. It's like, I got brochures. You go see a doctor and get some medication. I'll write a, here, go. I'll write it up. Go take this to the doctor. Tell him what I said. I am good looking. You're probably good looking. Most of the guys are really good looking, bad looking, dumpy, and or with that. It has nothing to do with Mgtow. Most of the guys that we've had, it's just it's a logical observation in Mgtow, and you would seem to think that the skeptics and the atheists and the anti-feminists and the other Manospherians and in the regular blue pill population would do a little bit of pragmaticism on this. If Mgtow is what they say it is, then the obvious fact is we've been chosen by another gender, the other gender, as mating possibilities before, because that's what we talk about. So unless people come around, that's why the incels so deserve Mgtow, because they haven't been chosen as. But guys like me and most normal Mgtows, we've been through that whole been chosen. I've been chosen, 5 times already, for mating possibilities, in having children and everything. So I know there's nothing wrong with my genetics. But that wouldn't be you would think that the Blue Pill Nation would go, oh yeah, that's kind of anti-logic. They're calling the Mgtows a bunch of losers, mamas, boys that sit at home and everything. No, you're talking about the incels. Yeah, that's what they're talking about, and it's like if they don't know that incel, TFL, and Mgtow are separate organizations, then just let them continue, because then it's just funny because they're uninformed. Even Carly is thirsty. I would say that she is. I'm sure she's acts like a normal. She's a normal person and everything. Is that you, Chewy? Is Chewy in? Where is Chewy at? I miss Chewy. Chewy's usually in on these things, and I would put up, does anybody want to come in and talk so you don't have to listen to me jabber on and everything? I've been meaning to, maybe this year, I don't know, I'll actually reach out and get another I got to replace Shining. I hate to replace Shining. I wish I can get Shining back, because Shining so kept me in check. And he kept me, you know, I do circular logic and I bring it back after an hour. And that's my shtick. I could do, I'm so really good at doing circular logic. I start with a topic, and then I talk for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and then I slam it back down. I'm booyah, there I am back at the circular logic. And that's sort of my shtick in life. But shining keeps me from doing those things. I have to find a new shining, and maybe that'll be a thing I'll do this year. I didn't know if I was going to continue on with Mgtow. That was the thing, continuing on with Mgtow. But I do have a passion for this. I really do. I think that's how you determine a Mgtow. I mean, if he stays around, if he's got a passion for it, if he's got a passion for Mgtow, obviously, just because someone called him a a cuck little soy boy living in your mom's basement, he's like, oh, I'm leaving Mgtow. No. Had been called that a million times before. Trust me, I get it daily. So it kind of, you know, you determine you have to work through that, and people that don't have a rough bark, you know, have that kind of strength, and they can never be Mgtows, and we don't want those guys around anyways. So Dougie taught me that today. Dougie taught me about hate today with the cat. He was like barking. He put another hole in I opened the window for a minute to get some air in here because I was cleaning the carpet because Dougie, because he stinks. I was cleaning the carpet today and he's seen a cat and he stuck his head right through he stuck his head through the screen, and I was thinking, son of a bitch, I'm going to have to fix that. I'm going to make you fix it. I should make Dougie fix the screen, but he doesn't know how to do it. I can't even get him to play chess with me, so I have to teach him checkers, and he really sucks at it. That's a joke. Yeah, so he wanted to go after the cat, and he's like demanding that I hate the cat too. He was like, you got to hate this cat, Joe. Look at it. It's out there. I'm like, no, I don't really hate it that much where I'm going to put my head through a screen. He was a little crazy with that today. So Dougie taught me a lot about life. He does these things. I can observe behaviors in him that I can observe in human beings. And that comes from the, what do you call that gland? The pineal gland at the top of the lizard brain that sits on the skull. There's a little peanut. It almost looks like about that big that sits in your brain stem right about there. You can't see. I'll pull my hair out of the way. Sorry if I seem, no, you're not angry today. And if you are angry, that's fine. I'm angry some days. Yesterday I was angry. I think was I angry yesterday during my podcast? I think it was angry yesterday. It's been a rough one. Yeah, man, I don't know how you feel. We all have these rough weeks, which is, man, it could go days and days and days before something good happens. And it seems like you get inside this rut where you've seen it coming too. I often say, I feel like I'm 5 miles behind where I should be, or I'm too far ahead and I'm not where I should be in life. And then I need to get back to where I should be, and then things will just start lining up in my life, and that's when things start going well. One thing seems to work out, another thing seems to work out, and you're there. But man, we get so out of whack and so out of time. I don't know how you put it or what the definition is to that. We get out of whack, and one thing leads to another bad thing, and leads to another bad thing, and another bad. Hey, there's Doug. Hey, Doug, coming in to say hello. He chewed a hole in his tail yesterday. He's got this tick thing. We got this ongoing argument going about what food he's going to eat, and he wants my sandwiches, and he won't eat his regular food. When he gets it, he gets this tick, and he starts chewing on himself when things don't go his way, and he gets this hot spots. And he did it the other day, and I was like, you are so stupid. I know. We'll be wrapping it up soon, Duggars. So how long have I been going here? Oh, 89 minutes. Yeah, 89 minutes of Joe's probably about enough. Most people can talk about. This is just kind of a happy-go-lucky casual Friday where I just kind of talk and no real subject. Hate was the subject, and hate demands hate, and that's pretty much you can measure your you can measure people by that. If they demand hate out of you, if they demand you to take on their ideology, if they demand that you it may not be. If you volunteer to believe in an ideology like Mgtow, then it's fine. And we don't do that pressure here at Mgtow. We don't go out and say, man, if you're not a Mgtow, we're going to kill you. Or you can't be a part of our group, or you can't like come around. And hate demands hate. And usually hate demands you hate somebody else. And I'm going to wrap this thing up because Doug wants to go outside or he wants something to eat. I bought him some liver balls today. They're liver balls, and he probably wants them. He's ate like 30 of them so far, and he wants to do something. He's letting me know right now that he wants to do that. And I'm going to sit down and relax and just be myself and think about some things and maybe finish the book up I was reading. It was a long book, and I've been reading it for about a week and a half now. And that's about it. But I hope everybody's doing okay and everything's great in your life. And that's about it. And like always, Mgtow's about the group. It's about the size of the group, and every person in the group is important because we get out there and we spread the message. And that's where I thank you at the end of this thing. You know, thanks for being Mgtow. Mgtow.